we could probably talk about like Oblivion or Baldur's Gate or some video game.
Yeah, that's also fair. I've been playing Dragon's Dogma, not the new one, but the original. Yes.
Oh my god, you're doing the same thing. Because here's my thing, right? Do we save this for the podcast?
Does it help that I'm already recording?
Yes. Okay, perfect. So here's my thing with Dragon's Dogma. When I saw the game, I was like, damn, that looks good. That reminds me of the Baldur's Gate kind of hype.
Yeah.
And I like that open RPG. And then I thought about my experience with like Skyrim, my experience with Dragon's Age Inquisition, Witcher, all those games. What I thought was I loved every game I came into. But playing a game that predates it after I've played that game, like I'm actually going to force myself to go back and play through all the series of like Elder Scrolls, for example, from the very first one.
Oh, wow.
But I wanted to make sure that like with that game, I didn't miss out on anything or any kind of lore. For example, Baldur's Gate, there's so much lore in the game that I wonder if you played prior games.
It's all of Dungeons and Dragons lore. That's the problem. It's literally all of Dungeons.
True, yeah.
So it's like if you don't know any of that, then you'd have to learn all of it basically.
Yeah. So I was actually looking up Dragon's Dogma, but I had actually gone to the store and I was like, oh, I can actually get the first one. And so I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to finish Baldur's Gate because I've actually put it off for a while now because I'm really excited that here's the thing. I think I'm close. I could be way off. But I felt like
are you edging yourself in this game? Is that what you're saying? Dude, are you gooning this game right now?
Dude, I just realized I edge myself so hard with video games. I didn't finish Outer Worlds. I didn't finish Cyberpunk. Like, I devote a bunch of hours, I grind, and then I'm like, no, I'll go start another game. I'm not going to get
so close.
The satisfaction of
not going to finish.
completing. So I 100%.
You're like, you should make a YouTube channel based around that. Like now that Gerard, the completionist, is like fucking in shambles and his channel's
Tsuku the Edger,
the Edgist, yeah. I almost completed this game, but I never will.
I never complete the game. Wink, and then it doesn't even. I never get to finish my sentence at the end of any episode.
It always just cuts off.
The word before it always cuts off. Joseph, write this down.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, I think I kind of know what you mean. Like with Dragon's Dogma, at least, I don't know if this is what you were trying to say. I think there was a lot of words in there, and I was trying to keep up with most of it. You threw out a lot of brands. Very excited. But I think what you're saying is that there's not a whole bunch of lore that you have to dive into with Dragon's Dogma. You can just play the first game and the second game. Is that what you're saying? Like there's not like with Elder Scrolls, there's 7 games. Oh, okay.
I wanted to avoid missing out more by starting with the first game. So that way, if there's anything in the second game that's like, oh, that's a callback. I have this weird thing where I really want to appreciate the work that goes into making games.
Yeah.
And it's part of the reason I love exploring really big maps is like somebody spent the time to be like, you know what, maybe I'm going to hide something over here. And I'm like, I respect that.
Yeah. I think that might be, maybe not what you're saying, but it reminds me of a personal like flaw of mine where I feel like
interesting situation
where it is a flaw I found in myself where I want to appreciate the thing that comes out now. And I see how people who've already played it 10 years ago are appreciating it. And it's like, I want to bandwagon with that. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. I need to now absorb all 10 years of that information to now understand that joke. Because if I don't, I'm a loser. Like, it's like,
fair.
What is that? I don't know what that feeling is. Exactly. I don't know what that.
FOMO, fear of missing out.
For sure. 100%. But like you said, I think where it becomes a hindrance is where it's like, I'll never end up playing Dragon's Dogma 2 because
you spend so much time. You're like, I need a break. I need to play a different game. And then in 6 years, you're like,
Dragon's Dogma 3 is coming out.
Gotta go play 2 and make it goddamn. So if you want to see us play Dragon Dogma 2, go ahead and drop in the comment POW Gaming.
Oh, Jesus
if we get
Christ.
50 POW Gaming comments, we will revive the channel with Dragon Dogma 2.
Channel's never coming back then. Okay, so you haven't played the first one at all yet, is what you're saying?
No, so I'm curious. No, I haven't played either yet, but I was browsing in the store because this weekend, like, my grind game, because especially, which we will get to, I've been stuck on the couch for a very long time. I've had a little bit of opportunity to try out some games. It's really funny.
Yeah, we'll get into why.
We'll get into the
most
why.
People should kind of know if they've been keeping up on the episodes, but because we've taken
a
little break.
They might be edging themselves. They might be edging themselves on our episodes, and so they never finish the.
We've never even introduced. Okay, Joseph, I need you to splice this into the beginning right before we started talking about Dragon's Dogma. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. We've been off for a while. Everybody? It's Neon Valley, but we're back. Okay, now go back to what we were talking about, and we'll. Okay. All right. So, all right, I will say, Dragon's Dogma is more confusing than it should be. It might throw you off when you first play it. Because I tried playing it for like 5-6 hours, if not longer, and the mechanics and the storyline and the quests and how you do them was so confusing, at least for like what I'm used to in games, that I just kind of gave up. I was like, I don't even know if I'm having fun, right? I like that type of thing.
Okay.
And then I had a coworker who was like, "Oh, you're playing Dragon's Dogma? Bro, like, I have a tattoo of that game." And I was like, "Whoa, hold on." I was like, there must be something to this then. Like, he's like, "Dude, I've dumped like 200 hours. Like, it's so good." And it came out the same year as Skyrim. So that's why it got completely demolished.
It never stood a chance.
Not at all. And I was joking with my coworker that it almost happened again. I wonder if it was going to, because they pushed the release back to March of this year, and I think originally it was going to come out around the time of Baldur's Gate 3. And it would
dude,
nobody would have talked about it.
And it looks amazing. So the gameplay, this is what I'm curious about.
Yes.
Out of like the RPG games, again, the Dragon's Age, the Witchers, even Baldur's Gate, which gameplay is the fighting most? It almost looks like a Final Fantasy, where you have like a team of people that you fight with. Yeah,
okay, so you do have... So it's an interesting system. You have a system of pawns. By the way, I don't know if anybody's good at... This is the Dragon's Dogma episode for the first half, apparently, for anybody listening. But if you were interested in getting into this game and you didn't know if you should, maybe this will help you out. I don't know. We're not sponsored or anything. Fuck it. We haven't seen each other in like a month, literally, even through video. So
we have so much to catch up on.
This is the first thing we're talking about. Okay, so there's a pawn system where you can enlist pawns to your team, up to 3 of them. And your main one is one that you make, very similar to Baldur's Gate, where you like make your guardian companion thing. So
gotcha, okay.
You make that and you give them a class, and that's where the things start getting like a little bit more heady out of the gate than I was even ready for, because from like the beginning, you need to make sure that your pawn team is very like evenly, like you need one mage, one warrior, one fighter, at least.
So it's like you have to be balanced.
Yes, and there's certain parts where it's like, hey, you might do better at this part if you have like 3 mages, because there's a lot of magic here and like stuff like that. And then as you level up, you have to keep changing out your pawns because they don't level up. Only you and your main one do. So it's a little convoluted in that. But you can never control the pawns. You can only ever be like, oh, go and get them, or, you know, kind of demand things. Mm-hmm. I would say it's most similar to Dragon's Age Inquisition when it comes to like the combat.
Okay.
There's no slowing down time and stopping it.
It's real-time fighting.
Yes. So it is a little bit hack and slash, but there's a lot of different combinations you can do that make it a lot of fun. And there's
strategy to it.
Yeah, and there's literally a button that's dedicated to grabbing. So like you can grab enemies, and then other pawns will like stab them in the stomach, or pawns will grab them.
That's cool.
And they're like, take them out, really Arisen. Cool. And you're like...
And this is the first game, right?
Yeah, I haven't played the second game yet at all.
Oh, man.
So
I might have to get that sooner than I was expecting.
yeah, we won't talk much more about it. I don't want it to take up like too much time. But yeah, the only thing I will say is that the quest lines are the type that I really enjoy. But I guess I'm facing a reality here where I'm like, oh fuck, well, they're hard. Because it's like, yeah, I like this idea, but because literally it just gives you a marker, and sometimes not even that, off in the distance, and it doesn't tell you how to get there. But it does have people around you that randomly will have like a thing above their head, and they'll give you a little hint that's like, oh, you're going to this place? I've heard of that. You should go through this pass. But then sometimes there's other people who are like, oh, he's a fucking liar. Don't listen to him. You should go this. And it's like, oh, god damn it. Like,
that's actually really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, it has been a while, my friend. What's been new with you?
Honestly, man, not too much. Been working on my game. I did do that little 48-hour challenge for myself. Thank you. That was fun. I'm not going to go into I made like a 20-minute video about that whole process. So if anybody wants to watch that, it's on my YouTube channel. Look up Skorge. You'll find it.
Link in the bio.
Yeah, it did teach me a lot though about like my approach towards like game design lately. Cuz I think a good approach might actually be smaller projects that I can release more frequently while I'm also working on the bigger project. I was hearkening back to the old George Clooney 2 for them, 1 for you thing. You know, I was like, oh, I think I can make that work with game design as well. But
I know somebody else has said that quote. I now know it's from George Clooney, but I have no idea what it's referencing.
Yeah. What? Even with George Clooney, you don't know what it's referencing? Like,
not a Journey clue. Journey.
I would ask you to make like infer from
George Clooney. That's why I was like, why did I say Journey clue?
Oh, I didn't realize you were actually trying to think of his name.
Yeah, I was like, wait, how did I was like, that is not nobody's name.
I thought you were just making a classic Mitchellism. Yeah, I didn't realize.
Oh, I got really confused for a second.
No, I would ask you to try to infer it based on context clues, but I'll tell you. No, it's an old thing that George Clooney said that in an interview about projects where he was like, do you like making movies that are for yourself or for the audience? And he was kind of like, well, I think it's a 2 for them, 1 for me type thing. I always like to make 2 movies that I know the audiences will enjoy and are kind of fluff. And then I make that one really special project that's just for me. And I was like, that's a good thing to live by, you know, especially because a lot of the times the 2 are like, I think in his eyes, like easier to make. So it's like, also fair. 2 for you, 1 for me.
That is a good philosophy.
Yeah.
Clearly it works. He's very successful.
Yeah, been watching Scrubs, rewatching that.
Nice.
Yeah, because Audrey's never seen it, so
that's why. You know what? I think I have heard that before, and I was equally disgusted when I found out.
Don't worry, we're fixing that problem.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
good.
But yeah, beyond that, man, just been chilling. It's weather's getting a little nicer up here in the OR, but
the OR.
I will say though, I think my story is a lot less interesting than what you've been through in the last month, my friend.
It's funny how like it is, but for me, I'm like, I've had like the worst. Okay, so here's what happened last time on MVP.
Sorry.
That actually came through. It actually came through really well. And that's why I was just like, okay, that threw me off. So as we learned, I humiliatingly found out through ChatGPT that I had severed my Achilles. So to give everyone an idea at home, the Achilles tendon is that nice tendon on the back of your ankle. You know, we'll say that region from your heel bone up. Yeah. And it's what controls kind of the movement for the foot to flex and whatnot. At least as I understand it. I'm not a doctor, just a patient.
Yeah. It's a character in Hercules. I know that.
That's fair, and I cut him down. That bastard will never cross me again. So when I tore it it's severed, right? So the tendons were no longer connected.
Ugh.
But I think part of the problem was it took me like a month to 2 months in order for me to get through the process of actually seeing the ortho doctor that could do something about it, because insurance is a complicated system and it's unnecessary. Anyways,
Complicated?
Well,
That's a long word for bullshit. That's too many more syllables. Usually nicknames are supposed to be shorter. If you're gonna make up a nickname for bullshit, it can't be complicated.
You're right. You're right. I was giving it more than it even deserved.
Exactly.
So I think part of what happened was I had been with my Achilles torn for so long. And again, this is where I'm inferring. If you were to injure yourself, the muscle's fresh, right? It just tore. So when you reattach it, everything is still going to hurt. Don't get me wrong. It's still going to hurt. But I imagine at least like it was used to just being stretched out. It's been stretched out. Now you're taking tendons that have wrapped up. And to quote the doctor, frayed. He said typically it's kind of like a clean cut. He goes, it looked like shredded cheese. Like,
oh, God.
The tendons were everywhere. So he had to take them. And I guess what they did is like they tie them and intertwine them together and they loop them back through.
Oh my God.
It gets better. So something I actually found out today at my doctor's appointment was typically what they'll do is, you have you'll have the skin, they'll redo the tendons and it's under the layer where the skin is. So it's literally one layer between your skin and nothing. He's like, I put it 4 layers beneath. That way, if you ever cut yourself, you're not going to expose or be at any additional risk.
Oh, God.
So that means that he went 4 layers deep into whatever, because again, I was going to say, wait,
so it's not normally 4 layers? Like he gave you extra protection, is what you're saying, from like a normal Achilles heel?
That's pretty much what he said. Yeah, that's insane. He's like, I go deeper for better protection. So
how's that even? That's cool.
So the best way I can explain is the funniest thing was apparently what I said coming out of surgery, which I always love to hear because I don't remember this. Like you're high as hell off the strongest stuff because it's anesthesia. So apparently I said, wow, this is the best I've ever felt in my entire life. Very soon was going to find out that was not the case. That was just the effects of the medicine that I don't even get to remember. I guess the second thing I was just like, damn, I'm really hungry. I want Del Taco. Tyler, we did an episode where we ranked food.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Del Taco came up on like D, didn't it? Or
and even though I would have maybe put it a little bit higher specifically for Lent when they do their jumbo shrimp burritos, even I was like later after the fact, what the fuck? Out of all the things to ask for,
Dude, can I just say, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that is a genuine fear of mine, is what dumb shit would I say when I'm under? Man. You know what I mean? Like, because I don't even think there's nothing that I think that I would say that's like, oh my God, I would reveal something. It's just more of like, what would I say? What embarrassing shit? Like, would I want to go to Arby's or something? I can't come back.
You wake up with Arby's in your hand and you're like,
I can't.
No, that's not me. They're like, listen, man, you said this is who you are.
We have the recording.
I just thought of something really funny. What if like you just say like, oh, I murdered somebody, and then you come out of surgery and like you're finally like unlooped and there's a police officer sitting there and it's
you're
like,
all fucking
you confessed to a crime and you're like, what? No.
You just inception that into my mind now, and now I'm gonna laugh when I come out of some stupor and be like, I killed someone, and like they're gonna be like, what? God damn it! Now we have to call the police.
Now we have to do a report.
They're like, no, it's a podcast joke, and they'll be like, oh, that doesn't help.
This would be great for a podcast.
So I have to ask though, did you while he was already down there, he's already doing this, did you ask for any like leg lengthening, Did you try to look max?
No,
any alpha shit where you like, hey, give me 2 more inches on my height?
I said whatever will make me look and feel more like an anime character, do it. And so I'm going through grueling pain to learn that I made a mistake and I need to work harder and train harder and take care of myself. So I did get the anime experience, not the one I wanted. I got the slice of life.
And he added
there's no magic
as well.
yeah. There's also the tentacle.
Yeah.
So the first night, mind you, not only am I still on, some of the anesthesia, but additionally, they gave me a shot of something that I guess has been just around for about a year. I guess only 3 insurance carriers in my state will cover it. So luckily mine did. So I guess one time insurance gets the dub.
All right.
But I think what it did was I don't remember the length of time, but I thought he had said for like a week or if not 2, it was going to numb the pain. So like when you go to the dentist's office, you're numbed up where you're like, I could knock my tooth out. I'm not going to feel it. You get home, you're like, well, shit, now I can feel it. It's like that, but like for a 2-week period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the weird part about it is my toes felt like they were, and not in the painful way, but it felt like my toes were like crooked and like bent, wrapped around each other.
I feel like I know the feeling you're talking. Like when my foot falls asleep, I know that exact feeling.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the nerves, right? Because again,
Yeah.
I think what they gave me was a nerve blocker. So again, I have a nerve blocker. I have whatever's still in my system from the surgery. I had painkillers. Now, granted, there was like a mistake, and I got the wrong painkillers because my primary doctor's office submitted painkillers, and they're not going to give you 2 sets of painkillers from the same doctor. And I was like, why would you submit that?
Why not?
But I'm going into. Anyways, that's a whole other story. So I had the painkiller, and when I say hours straight, hours at night from I'd say probably like 8 or 9 to like 5 or 6 in the morning, continuous surges of pain. And
Ooh.
the best way I think I can explain it is because the incision itself, it's like 8, maybe like 8 inches long. Like it's a large incision.
Yeah, it's a big boy.
And it was stapled all the way up and stitched up. So on top of it, my body is feeling this foreign metal object. And so
it's sore, yeah.
When I say it felt like my foot was on fire, screws were like twisting into the sides of it. Again, this has been pulled and stretched out now after a month of being rested and
and they're trying to push it back together.
And they're trying to reattach it.
Oh my God,
and,
wow.
I mean, I went through, I fractured my scaphoid. I had an umbilical hernia, which for people that don't know is a hole in the abdominal muscle. And so they had to put attach the patch so that way my intestine wasn't sticking out. This was the worst pain I've ever been through.
It's crazy.
I was like I was sitting up like shaking and just like literally praying because I was like, there's nothing else. Nothing else is helping me. I'm in the worst pain I've ever been in.
In that situation, are you able to contact your doctor and just be like, yo, up the dosage? I am dying over here or something?
Yeah, so realistic. Now, granted, if I would have called,
I wouldn't really either.
Answer,
yeah,
because it would have been an emergency. But this is again where I also realized that. So the first dosage of I was the same medicine. It was just a different dosage. The dosage that my surgeon provided was twice as strong as what my primary care doctor had prescribed. So realistically, I probably should have just taken 2, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
So,
and you want to be safe. Like, I'm the type of person I will never take more than the doctor.
Yeah, it's actually funny because I did something that you'll probably appreciate, if not do, that I think is hilarious. So I'm in like the worst pain. And the other thing about it is, if my foot goes up and down, and right now it's been like 5 weeks, so I'm at a different place. But if this is my foot, when it's rested like this, there's so much scarring and pressure built up from the injuries up my leg here, that blood wasn't getting through, and it was just pulsating pain. Part of the reason I haven't shaved is the amount of time it would take. I can't stand for that long and not feel like I'm going to pass out from the pain. So
you'd have to go 1/4 at a time.
Yeah,
hope
literally.
You don't have to go anywhere for the whole day.
Yeah. So what I've had to do for 5 weeks is I've slept on my couch downstairs. I've been upstairs once, and that was a couple days ago because I was finally able to get in the shower. But other than that, I have to prop it up on like two pillows because I also can't let it lay flat because I need to let the wound area heal. So the past 5 weeks has been me sitting on the couch, one leg propped up on two pillows, and that's it. There's been, I think, I've left for doctor's appointments. I've gone over to my parents' house for dinner just to get out of the house for a little bit. But again, I'm just propped up on a pillow on their couch.
Yeah, it's not like you're walking around their place.
And so after like the first 2.5 days were just like I almost was like gonna call the doctor and be like, did I re-tear it? Like it hurt so bad I didn't know.
I can see that.
No, it's healed really well. You just become so paranoid because you've never been in this level of pain before. Where
I could imagine. I can't imagine actually.
Yeah, my wife Amanda, she looked concerned, and even she's like, I've never seen you in that much pain, and I was like, it was just on a different level than I've ever experienced. And so after a week, no, it was after 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, it's finally getting a little bit easier to deal with. As long as I don't move at all, I'm all right. Occasionally at the night is when it would really hurt, which would suck because I'd get no sleep. But then after the 2 week mark, then they're like, okay, now we need to take out the staples. There's no numbing agent. And so there's a little suture. So there's little sewing it. So they sew up around it. So first they have to cut that and then pull that out. And then they're actually pulling out metal staples. And they had to stop halfway because I was just like, I'm going to throw up. Like, this is really, really painful.
There's no way to numb that? Why is that?
I have no idea. My guess is like maybe they could give you like a shot, but then you'd have to wait like 20 minutes for the shot to take effect or something like that. So it was one of those, I was like, I kind of just want to get it over with.
Like for the amount of time it takes versus I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And so then again, it was that night. And then the next 2 nights again, I was just like, oh my God, it's not as bad as when I had first come home from the hospital, but it was worse than like last week was because I was like, okay, now wounds were reopened in that area. So finally I get through that. I'm on the path of doing much better. I've had to go to the doctor's office every week for the past 4 weeks since I've had the past 3 or 4 weeks since I've had the surgery. I have 3 more weeks to go, so my recovery time total will be 8 weeks before I'm able to put any pressure on my right foot. After that, it'll be 12 weeks of physical therapy. It'll be a full year before I'm back to 100%. But in about 5 weeks, I could potentially be driving again. Nice. So it has just been such a grueling process.
You want that sweet spot. There will be a sweet spot, right? Where it's like you're not in pain anymore. You can drive and get around, but you still
it's just about working, yeah.
But you still have that little bit of like, oh well, I can't do that. I'm just look at my leg.
Having an automatic
yeah. You're gonna have this little window for like a month, where it's like, I mean, I feel fine and I can move, but I can't, Don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna sit here and play Dragon's Dogma 2 a little bit longer. Anyway,
it is a pretty nice app. I'm not gonna lie. It's a great app to have.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's so funny. Well, that part. None of the other part of that story was funny.
No, yeah.
Dude, that sucks. I've honestly never broken anything or really had I've been lucky enough to have not. And it's funny because I wasn't even like a totally sheltered kid. Like I played soccer, hockey, baseball. So I skateboarded. I rode bikes. I did rollerblading for a year or whatever. Like I did a lot of things. I think the thing is that I was the type of kid to not. I wasn't doing the tricks that I didn't know how to do. And if I was skateboarding or doing, and if in baseball, if I knew that something to a certain, even though the coach was like, yeah, push it 100%. If I knew that pushing it 100% could possibly hurt me, I wasn't going to do it. I was like, coach, I'm sorry. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm going to hurt myself. Bro, I'm just saying, we got a perfect example right here.
we do because, and I don't even think I need to tell you this. I was a kid where a coach was like, give me 120%. I was like, I'm going to run until I collapse under the weight of my body because my legs can no longer move.
Yeah, which is funny because that's not what they meant, but the way they're saying it, that kind of sounds like what you meant, coach. 120%, that's 20% more than I have physically inside of me, which means that's 20% closer to death.
And it's even funnier that you say this because there's a show on Netflix I told you about, Physical 100. It's a Netflix show, which is pretty much like in anime. They take the 100 strongest people in the country and have them compete. And so this is how like I know I'm like I have a problem. Like I am too just confident that I can do things. I'm watching the show, not say like, oh yeah, I could do that right now, but immediately was like, oh, I can't wait till I heal from this injury and get my body in a place where I can start training and maybe compete in that one day. And I'm just like, why? But I'm like, but maybe.
But you could. But I could. Isn't that funny though that I think I have that same toxic trait, but when it comes to like entertainment. Like, I could watch a fucking Christopher Nolan movie, and I'm like, dude, give me a camera. I got this.
Done.
Like,
easy. What?
Like, I mean, look at me now. I play Resident Evil, and I'm like, I can make this.
I can make this game.
I could easily
make a game in 48 hours.
You know, I don't think that. Yeah, exactly. I definitely share in that feeling, though. Dude, okay, so I didn't. Your story reminded me of something that my aunt went through years ago. I just thought this was interesting that I don't think people realize. This is like a little bit of a cautionary tale as well, you know, to tag on the end of yours, is that if there's ever a body part that is asleep, you know, like, oh, you've been laying on it too long or anything like that, it is genuinely numb and you need to be careful. Because I don't think people realize, like, because my aunt, her foot fell asleep one day while she was reading in bed. And she was like, ow, and like stepped off of the bed, but missed like their bottom little step thing and literally snapped her ankle. But it was asleep. So she was like, oh, that was weird. Huh. And then kept trying to walk on it because she couldn't feel it. And she literally snapped it 2 more times while she was walking and didn't realize it. And then the second all of the numbness went away, it was like, ah! And then she went to the doctor. And they were like, did you walk on it? Like, what happened? And she was like, yeah.
Did you get caught in a saw trap, like from the movie?
So, yeah. When everyone's like, oh, my foot's asleep, like that's genuine. Like that, because always growing up, like you always hear that. And like, yeah, I've had it happen to me, but I didn't attribute it to it actually being like numb. I just thought it was a weird like nerve thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to put it. I didn't think it was literally numb.
So yeah, because it's cutting off the blood flow. Because I remember in high school, what we would do is we would put our arms over the back of the chairs, and then you would put your inner arm in as close as you can because you have a large veins that go here. Yeah. And then you get like that dead arm, and you're like, oh, what's going on? I definitely am not going to cause nerve damage in my body when I'm an adult.
30. Did you? That was perfect timing.
I don't know what just happened there.
Perfect timing for God to smite you. Did you ever do the doorway thing? I feel like I always bring this up to people and they never know what I'm talking about.
No. What is the doorway
I
thing?
feel like, you're saying this, but I swear I made you do this when we lived together. It's where if you have a hallway or a doorway that's like pretty like close to your arm width, right? You go up to that doorway and you hold your arms, like put all of your pressure against the wall. Like even now I can kind of do it on the side of my chair. And then if you do that for like 60 seconds and then walk out from the door, your arms just kind of naturally lift because they're so used to the muscle putting force on it.
We did do this. You did have me in trouble for this at the omit the name. We can't love the guy. But we don't want to dox people.
No, of course not. Do you remember when we did an impromptu Whose Line Is It Anyway night with omit that name?
You know what's weird? I think about that often. Like every couple months.
That's okay. I'm so glad that you feel that way because it's one of those weird memories that's like, why am I thinking about that right now?
Do you know what I specifically remember?
The alphabet?
Yes, because something happened and I got way too into the scene. We were robbing a bank. I think you and I were robbers, and she was the teller. I was like, "Give me the fucking money," and you're like,
That was not the next letter.
That's not the next letter. I was just like, oh, that's right. Like we got really into it. I think about that so often.
This was pre-weed smoking days too. This we weren't even smoking at that time, I don't think, right?
We were probably drinking. We were definitely drinking.
Yeah, probably. Oh yeah. We were having some beers, but I don't even think we were drinking as heavily as like our like mid-20s and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. That it's just thinking about that time of how like I mean, was it really just that weird transitional phase where it was like we didn't have TikTok, we didn't have like YouTube to the extent that we have it now. You had to go on the computer to watch YouTube. You couldn't bring it up on your TV. Like that wasn't a thing.
Like if you had like an Xbox, then you could play it like on an app. But you had to have something that played YouTube.
Yeah,
the TV
I think
itself
Netflix was probably the only app we had at that time. I think I remember watching Netflix at his house, but we were just kind of like we couldn't find anything. We were like, oh, I mean, because this was like what 2013 maybe.
Yeah, because it was definitely before we lived together.
Yeah. Wow. Jesus. Yeah. I just that night for some reason is so ingrained in my memory.
I don't know why I think about that situation all the time. It'll pop in my head. I'm like, oh yeah, that time I like totally forgot we were doing something specific, and I got really into my character.
I just remember cheating a lot. Like every time we would get to letters, I would just be like it was X, and I'd be like, xylophones in the distance. Who's playing xylophones? All right. So did you want to get into your hypothetical that you teased like 2 episodes ago?
I feel like that's only fair because now I feel bad that
because
I'd say edged people this hard.
Oof, this is the edging episode. I think that's what we found out. That's what this is.
Should we not?
Ooh, no. It's been 45 minutes.
Okay. All right. Yeah,
we got a little time here. All right.
So, would you rather have your weight in gold or your weight in $100 bills?
Oh, okay. But see, this isn't even like a hypothetical because you just don't want me to look up the worth of either of these things because this is an easily answerable question if we Google it. This isn't like a
try. Go ahead, try.
Try?
Go for it.
Okay, you want me to try? Okay, I'll give my guess first, right?
Okay.
And by the way, is this one of those trick questions where no matter what happens is that I just turn into the gold and money, so I can't even have it either way because it's my weight? Dream. Are you doing the Puss in Boots thing? Is that what this is?
No, this is 100%. I literally was just trying to come up with hypothetical. I don't know why I was, but I was like, ooh.
All right.
I wonder what would be more valuable.
If I had to guess.
Because think about how many $100.
That's the thing. I think it would have to be the dollar bills.
Because naturally I'm like, bam.
But gold. Now, hear me out though. Gold historically increases in value while the dollar decreases. So over time, if you're investing this money, you might want your weight in gold. Because it'll last longer.
Gold doesn't accrue interest. Although I guess neither would
cash. But it's worth accruing. Oh, but you would have to put it in a bank. But the worth of gold versus the dollar usually goes up. Okay, let's find this out though. So I'm going to say what is... I don't even know how much I weigh right now. I'm going to say 190.
190.
What is 190 pounds of gold worth? This is like a game theory episode. We should have taken over for that channel. What is 190
That's
pounds
true.
of gold
I'm
worth?
very mad that they did not call us. Our lines have been open this entire time.
Okay. Not Troy pounds. Is that what we want? No, we just want pounds.
The fuck is Troy pounds? Helen over there baking a goddamn
all right, bro.
Trojan horse.
It's $6.5 million. That's actually a lot more than I thought it was. Okay. Because gold is really light. That's the thing we have to remember. So pounds is probably like a lot of gold. Like, because that's why I was saying Troy pounds is different because gold is so light. Okay, so now we need to look up how much does a dollar bill weigh? Are you just asking
$100 bill.
ChatGPT?
$100 bill. I'm also asking ChatGPT just to see what it says.
All right, I want to see if I can figure this out with math, the power of math, though. Okay, it's 1 gram. So, okay. Let's see. How many grams are in 190 pounds? 86,182. Okay, so then we have to 86,182 times 100 by just $2.1 million more. The dollars would come in. They would come in as more. Yeah.
I knew it.
If I'm doing my math correctly here, it should be worth roughly $8.6 million if you had my body weight personally in dollar bills.
Okay, so it's interesting because when I asked ChatGPT, it said a standard U.S. currency bill, regardless of denomination, weighs about 1 gram. There are 454 grams in a pound. So to find out, it did 100 pounds times 454 grams divided by pounds. So it says the total value of 190 pounds of $100 bills would be $8,626,000.
Wait. Oh, I got more than that, but whatever. I've actually.
But it did it by 454 specifically, so I think it was.
Oh, I see. I have seen a weird thing lately where it says ChatGPT gets a lot of math problems wrong.
Oh, dude, and you know how I found that out? I played Dungeons. I have done ChatGPT as my dungeon master for a solo D&D campaign, and there was times as we're going through. And I was like, oh, roll for damage. And it's like, oh, this and this. So this is the total. Or I'm like, that's not math. What are you doing? Or it's like, I'm sorry, I can't calculate that. And I'm like, I can?
Yeah.
Why are you having problems?
It's one of those things where it's not quite there yet. Like, AI is so much leaps and bounds further than it was even 6 months to a year ago. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But there are certain things I run into where I'm like, yeah, you're not taking anybody's job anytime soon. Not with this accuracy. Like, because even a few times with coding, especially my favorite thing is when I directly correct it and it goes, oh, thank you for that correction. My bad. Here's the corrected code. And then it gives me the same exact code that it did before without the correction. And I'm like,
I'm going to have to give you my account information so you can try out the ChatGPT 4. Because there is
the premium, kind of like the premium. Okay.
Yeah. I actually get the premium. It is, I actually utilize it for multiple things. I've even.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I've been at the store, and my wife has sent me a list of groceries to get. And here's my thing: I order things by like non-perishable and then perishable. So I'm like, I know which things to grab first. And so I'll put the list into ChatGPT and be like, oh, sort these by perishable, non-perishable. And dude, I use it for that kind of stuff all the time. Also, try having it like give you a recipe based on ingredients you have.
It
does a decent job.
Excuse me. That's a good idea. Yeah, I really only use it for like creative bounce, like I don't even know what to call it, like backboarding, like I don't know, creative brainstorming.
Yeah, you're getting feedback from something, but again, it's only giving you feedback based on what you're giving it, what you're asking of it.
Yeah, because for example, because I haven't even told you about this. It's just like a last day or two thing. I think as like a small other project, as like a side game, I want to kind of make a. It's essentially you are a police investigator who gets called in when they think that something supernatural happened at a murder scene or suicide scene. So it's like after everything else that could have reasonably happened isn't proving true, they call you in. I'm sorry that for the people.
I'm so sorry. I tried so hard to not.
For the people who are not watching this, that was the most dramatic sneeze I've ever seen in my. The way you ripped off your headphones was like an action hero. Like that was so fucking funny.
It
Holy
was
shit.
literally one of those where I was calculating in my head. I'm like, I have about 4 seconds before I have to turn and grab. Now, go, 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 go.
But just to wrap up that thought, what's funny is that with an idea like that, that's where I'll sometimes go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, here's my idea for a game, such and such. This is the setting. This is this. What do you think? Could you help me come up with like clues? Like, I can't come up with a specific clue. Give me some ideas. And the funniest part is 9 times out of 10, and this is going to sound like I'm talking out of my ass and I'm trying to like cover up for the fact that I'm using ChatGPT, but genuinely, 9 times out of 10, it will give me a list of things that suck. But because of that list of things, I go, okay, you know what? Actually, this could be a good idea. And it usually has nothing to do.
Ideas.
Yeah, but it usually has nothing to do with the ideas they gave me. I'm just kind of like, okay, well, they said notebook. So, okay, well, what if there's like a camera and it's like a totally separate idea, but something about it just spitballing at me gets me to start being creative more. So, I find it very interesting. Actually, speaking of which, we can have a little AI conversation real quick before we wrap up this episode, because that hypothetical
Always
didn't take too long. I will say there is a deeper question there though, because there's only $2 million difference, and that is a lot. But I'm just saying, in the sense of millions,
depending on your size, yeah,
there's only $2 million difference, and the appreciation of value. We have to talk about that. Also, what about your weight in Bitcoin? Okay. Now hear me out. It don't weigh nothing because it's all digital currency.
I was
infinite.
Like, how do you solve for that?
You have to weigh the electron that shoots through. Okay, no. So, all right. Well, I want to talk about AI a little bit because I saw a movie recently in theaters by myself. And I don't know if
psychopath.
I think I mentioned this to you, right? Because that's where I got the idea for the game I made.
Actually, no, I don't think you did mention.
I went to go see Late Night with the Devil, which is like a horror movie that came out recently, produced by Shudder. Not sponsored. It's a good app though. We should check it out. And when I went to go see it, I could tell like the movie theater was like empty. Like even in the lobby, I was like, oh fuck. And there's like one car in the parking lot. I'm like, oh shit.
And it was yours.
Yeah, I was like, so I go inside, I buy my ticket, I go sit down, and I'm already about 10 minutes late because I know that for some reason modern movies in theaters have about a half an hour.
Oh my god,
trailers.
There's so many trailers.
It's not a fucking joke. I'm not exaggerating. My movie started at 7:45. The movie did not start until 8:20. So I was already 10 minutes late. Sat down, empty. Literally not a single person in the theater. And I'm just sitting there like, let's fucking go. I was like, this is
right. You're like,
in
this
fact,
is my domain.
Could you load up Fortnite real quick? Fuck it. I'm not. I don't even want to watch Late Night anymore. This is my theater now. So no, I was really hyped for it. And then about 10 minutes into the movie, this like woman comes in, but she sits in a seat that's just out of view. And I'm like, I don't like that. And then literally 10 minutes after that, she gets up and leaves. I was like, okay, maybe possibly creepier, that thing. Like that's
yeah.
It would have been less creepy if you just stayed. So, but either way.
Then you ask about it, like nobody else has been in this building today.
Yeah, they're like, no, that
nobody
woman
else got a
died
ticket
in that theater 10 years ago.
In 1437.
This movie theater hasn't been open since 1953.
I'm not real. They just
disappear.
vanish.
I mean, that's terrifying. If someone walked up to you in the face and went, "I'm not real," and then disappeared, bro, I wouldn't be able to sleep for like a week. Like that would be the fucking scariest thing that's ever happened.
Make a game with that premise.
And people just keep running up to you. I'm not real.
Not real.
You got to find the one real person. It's like Where's Waldo, but with real people. Your psychosis.
Let's be real.
I love that. Okay. So no, that wasn't even the point of the story I was telling. So I went to see this movie, Late Night with the Devil. Incredible. Great movie. It's set up in the style of kind of a 70s late night talk show. So it's about a guy who's hosting a TV show. He's like second to Johnny Carson and just can't quite get to his level. So he brings on a exorcist to his show who has a book that they released about this little girl who's possessed, and all this stuff. And he wants to do like a live exorcism on his show. And that's kind of where the basis starts from it. And it's all filmed as if you're watching the show that night. And then there's little snippets of behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, so it's all in the... My mom made fun of me when I said this because she was like, what the fuck did you just say? And I was like, it's in a 4:3 aspect ratio. She's like, excuse me? I was like, it's in a 4:, you know, like old movies. And she's like, she's like, you kids. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, that's what it is.
Tyler, I'm not going to lie. If you would have told me that, I would have been like, yes.
Right. Do you remember how when you were a child, TVs were square? That was a 4:3 aspect ratio.
God,
so whenever you see a movie that isn't widescreen, it's in a 4:3 aspect ratio. I thought this was common knowledge. Funny?
When you had said it, I initially was like, oh, he's saying it's got that old film, the old-timey film grain over it. And then as you explained it, I was like, I'm still wrong? I was wrong twice, Tyler. Nobody knows about this shit. God damn it.
All right. Apparently it's not common knowledge. I'm in my own echo chamber online. I always forget. Either way, really good movie. The whole point of this 7-minute introduction to this fucking movie is that there's roughly like 2-second snippets where like whenever the TV show goes to like commercial break, it'll be like, all right, and we'll be right back. And it'll cut to like a little like, you know, like those old jokes, like the hang in there screen. And it's like the cat holding on the string and like little TV, like intermission things. And they were very clearly AI generated. Like there was one of like a skeleton dancing in like a fucking Joseph, make sure to put it up. It's like a skeleton dancing out in like a pumpkin patch, but the pumpkin's face is like all fucked up. Like you can just tell like this is AI. And then there's another one of a TV set and the dials on the TV are like kind of smudged and none of the numbers are like it's just obvious signs of AI. And there's a lot of people upset being like, why the fuck couldn't you just hire an artist, get someone to just make it, all this shit? And like, I agree with that. I do. But my problem is watching this movie in an empty theater. There was so much work and effort and love put into this movie. There are practical effects. Like at one point, some guy's stomach rips open with like worms coming out and like his eye pops out of his head. And it's all practical. Not a single... There may be a little CGI that they hide, but you can tell it's like a real like 80s, 70s practical style effect.
Oh,
and
wow.
So it's like they hired that guy... You know, and that team, and they hired the cinematographer and the set designer and the writer and the actors and the director and all these people. And it's like, so are we just going to ignore all of the work that these people put in because the director went, oh, fuck, we need 2-second stills. Fuck, what do we do? The movie comes out in a day or something. Oh, I have this new AI app. Okay, cool. Like, that really ruins the whole movie for people now. That's kind of insane, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, if you were like, oh, they're using the voices of actors through AI to do lines without their permission, that's fucked up. But, yeah, the only place I guess people might argue is like, well, who's the one that originally made the design that the AI model learned from? But it's like... How does anybody learn anything? It's from seeing other people's work. Like, yeah,
I know. That's a rabbit hole. I got into that whole conversation with Audrey and one of her cohorts at work and at school. Because, I lean a little bit more into that camp where I kind of agree that AI learns the same way that humans learn, in a sense. Like, to quote the great Aaron Hansen, you don't come out the pussy drawing Mozart. Okay?
You got to draw Mo art.
To get Mozart. That's exactly right, my friend. And we all are just kind of obvious. We record a bunch of information and then press play. You know, like that's what we do as a human. And we work very similarly to an algorithm. It's really messy though, because again, like I don't think it should take people's jobs. Necessarily. Like But I think because where I kind of have landed on it recently is that it's the same thing as when computers were implemented. You know, what happened is that computers didn't take people's jobs. People who used computers took people's jobs.
Yep.
So it's just going to be the people that use AI that's going to, and I that whether or not that's a good thing, I can't really like.
That's
argue.
its own conversation, but AI is not going to be taking your day-to-day, your regular job. It's going to cut down on tasks. I can definitely say in my field, a lot of work that I do, I'm seeing processes are becoming automated. There's easier ways where AI can take a look and you can put in, to an AI model and say, okay, this is the kind of verbiage that we use on all of our PR things. Everything that goes out, public relations, this is the wording that we use. It will pick up on, okay, this is how you want me to sound when I'm speaking. And you can use that to write prompts for things. And now there's integrations with other sites where it'll automatically send out messages and stuff like that. But I typically don't even end up using those portions because I like adjusting it myself personally. But it's one of those, I still know how to use AI. I still know when to integrate it to cut down on work. Again, stuff like organizing lists and stuff like that saves me like 5 minutes of time when I go to the store. Like everything's going to come down to how you use it. I mean,
there is a philosophical debate that's kind of happening. I've heard recently where it's like the optimization of everything. It's like we seem to want to optimize our life, but to what end? Is kind of like the argument. Again, like I agree with you. I love saving that extra time where it's like, oh, well, if this is something that I can easily let a computer or AI do, why would I not just let it do that? But it does make you wonder, like, what is that 5 minutes giving you more of? You would hope it's spending time with your daughter but does it always translate to that exact time? Because a lot of people think like, oh man, if I had 12 more hours in the day, I would spend way more time with my family. But then most people just sit at home and binge Netflix or sit on their phone or so it's like it's this weird kind of balance we're living in where everybody wants to optimize their time as much as possible, but most people don't really have a lifestyle that even really where you need to. It's like take your time. Take a couple hours to cook something. Go garden, like you're not the Rock.
It's more about prioritize your time. Figure out what is most important to you. It's not about. And again, I think maybe there are some people who, this is how I fold laundry because I get it done faster. Okay, awesome. As long as it's like not like cutting into your everyday life where you're like, I have to do this now, and it's almost like, okay, this is now becoming something where it's almost like a compulsion.
Yeah, obsessive. In a way. I think the AI conversation is an interesting one because my theory on what'll happen is that it's just going to move up the baseline of what's expected. Because that's already happened and it's already happening. I mean, my example I gave to Audrey and her friend was like math. 20, 30 years ago, the baseline of math for the average person, maybe a little bit longer, was like, basic addition, multiplication, fractions. And then everything beyond that, you had to like know in your head or have a calculator on you to figure out. And then other than that, it's like, oh man, I don't fucking know. Now there's a new baseline of math because we all have calculators in our pockets at any given second that can do high level equations. That doesn't mean that we can all do them. That just means that we as humans don't need to necessarily and can let these things do that and then use that information for what we actually need to apply it to. So there's like a new base level of knowledge. Like even as a personal example, I've noticed it with video games because I've seen, I'm a part of a lot of like subreddits for like game design and game dev and all these new game designers and stuff. And what I'm noticing is there's a lot of people posting like 2D platformers and little like first person shooters and being like, hey, look what I made in like a week. And everyone will be like, yeah, this is a tutorial from X. Or, yeah, I've seen this before. This is from... So it's almost like there's a new baseline for video games that's not impressive anymore. It's like, oh, you made a Mario clone? Good for you, dude. Are you going to make it special? Are you going to actually put anything into it? And that's where the AI difference comes in. It's like AI will be able to make Call of Duty. Sure, it can make Call of Duty, but we won't want to play Call of Duty in 2030. We're going to want the thing that somebody put effort into. It has originality because we played Call of Duty for 40 years or whatever. So, yeah, there will just be a new baseline of like intelligence, I guess, or like knowledge, I guess is more of the word, but I don't know.
See what you're saying.
I find it interesting. I know I went on my little rant there, but it's been a while.
I like it. Yeah, it has been a while, and I think it was only natural we talk about RPG video games and
your physical ailments.
Physical ailment, wow.
And AI. We checked all 3 boxes. If you're playing Neon Valley Bingo at home, you might have...
You're drinking.
You might be drinking right now because we covered all the bases.
Those are literally the things where it's like, I wonder if they're going to talk about Oblivion and or a related game again. Oh, we did.
Dragon's Dogma is close enough.
Dragging these nuts across your face, Mom. Oh, man.
I was going to try to make a Ma joke, like dragging these nuts across dog Ma. No, there's something there, though. Don't drag these nuts across your Ma. Oh, man. All right. I think, I think this was a beautiful episode, man. I just realized I don't even know what episode number this is. We've taken such a long time off.
39.
Okay. We haven't released the serial one yet as of recording this. That's coming out. Okay. So even though we recorded that like a month ago, this is going to be a bit of a shell shock. People are going to see how we look in like... the serial episode.
We're announcing a break and then we post the next week and we're back, folks.
What's up?
That's actually going to be hilarious.
All right. Anything you want to shout out before we get out of here, Mitchell? Mine had a little more throat to it.
It did. It was a lot more throaty. Mine will probably be throatier after my next surgery this year.
I didn't know where you were going with that, but it sounded dirty.
No, it's honest. In August, I'm getting another surgery.
Yeah, that is true. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for sticking with us. Was my mouse on the screen this whole time? God damn it.